In Chapter 1 of your manual, you saw a list of power leaks. These are the things that impact your golf swing. Some of them interfere with your accuracy, some of them interfere with your power, some of them do both. But all of those things, the average golfer is doing about at least 10 of those. Teenagers aren't doing any of this stuff at all. So in order to explain why the power leaks are bad, I'm going to have to explain to you what it is in the default swing that you should be going for. So I'm going to show you what the sequence is for your downswing from here to here. This is the what only. We're not going to get into how to do this, but I'm just going to show you something we can compare those power leaks to. From the top of my swing, you notice I do not have a big hip turn. I feel a lot of tension in my lower back right now, and I want to keep that until I hit the ball. So my first move is a weight shift with my hips. You notice that my head's not going anywhere. This is pulling my back shoulder and my arms down. Once my hands get down to a certain area, I'm going to actively rotate my back shoulder down, my front shoulder up. When I get over my hands about waist high, I'm going to start to rotate my hips. I'm going to start straightening out my back leg, and I'm going to start straightening out my back arm. Here I am in impact. My hips are turned all the way forward. I still have this tension in my lower back. This is what the default swing looks like at impact. Now, how you get here, the sequence, the order in which you're getting there is extremely important. Sequence is always important in everything that you've got things to do in a specific order. The transmission in your automobile. If you start your car off in third gear, there's no power. Well, the majority of people that are playing golf are starting their golf swing off in third gear, and they're losing a lot of power here. So here's how these power leaks affect your ability to perform the downswing in the order I just showed it to you. So we're going to take a look at these in detail later. We're just going to glance at these right now just to identify them. So I'm going to start to identify these power leaks. The first group of power leaks, we're going to talk about your stance, the width of your stance, the angle of your feet, your posture, your grip position, your grip pressure on the takeaway, initiating the takeaway with your front arm and bending your front arm. Now, this is what power leaks do to you on a negative basis. They interfere with your body's ability to generate power in the golf club. This affects your distance. They interfere with your ability to hit the ball straight. They interfere with your ability to make the same swing from one swing to the next. So most of these things are causes, some of them are effects of other causes. Let's talk about the stance first. Now all these things, I'm just going to identify these. I'm not going to get into how to fix them right now. Every choice that you make in your golf swing, you are making that in a range of choices. The width of your stance, that's being made in a range of choices. Eventually I'll give you a finite place to start off from, but from that position, you have to go a little bit this way and that way to find out the choice that works best for your golf swing. Nobody can tell you in the beginning what the best position is for anything that you're doing in the golf swing. If there was one body, there would be one set of finite issues to deal with. But because all our bodies are different, we all have different physical history, everybody's body has different capacities. So your stance, if it's too wide, you can't shift your weight. If it's too narrow, you can't shift your weight. If your feet are not pointed in the right direction, they affect your ability to stop your hips from turning and to allow your hips to turn forward during the golf swing. So the stance is something that doesn't have anything to do with your body mechanics, with your swinging mechanics. When you fix your stance, that's another quick fix. When you deal with your posture, there are basically two postures. There's upright and there's this posture. When you bend over like this, you've got a flat swing. This is kind of like a baseball swing, and you end up using baseball muscles. These muscles are not as strong as your golf muscles. If you had a more upright swing, your hands are going to be up here. You're going to use a completely different set of muscles starting your swing up here than you would use if you're starting your muscles here. So the choice of your posture affects what you're able to do. The grip position on the club. We're talking about this V with your hand, with both hands. Now I have a friend that's got a really strong grip position. He's got a hammer grip position. Basically, his V is on the backside, and he has a really hard time with hitting the ball straight, and he has to do all kinds of compensating things because of that. If you've got a hammer grip and your hand's on the right side, you are really having a hard time releasing the club here. It wants to release much sooner than it should. So if you've ever tried to hit a nail really hard with something and you missed entirely, and you missed the wood and everything, it's a very uncomfortable feeling to miss that shot because your hand is not able to do this. In the golf swing, your wrist can turn over, and it takes a lot of load off. This is a restricted position here. This is as far as I can go after I miss that nail. So the position that your hands are in, the grip pressure that you're using for this. Now, we've already talked about this in the quick fixes. Your grip pressure affects many different things. It primarily affects your ability to feel stuff. If your grip is too tight, you're going to have a hard time feeling where the ball is hit on the face of the club. For a professional golfer, that's extremely important. It's also extremely important for them to be able to feel where the club head is and where their hands are anywhere in the takeaway and downswing. They are very sensitive to this, and they're sensitive to this through proprioception. That is your ability to feel where your hands are when you cannot see them. A professional golfer is very tuned into this position up here, and when they get off a half an inch, it's a very uncomfortable feeling for them. So most of you are not in that category yet, but you have the ability to build up to that. Okay, so your grip pressure increases on the way back. You start off with one grip pressure, but you get tight as you go back. This is a reflex. It has nothing to do with your conscious thinking. You're not consciously trying to do that, but it is a power leak for you, and we will eventually get into how to fix that and stop that from happening. Initiating the takeaway with the front arm. This is my front arm, this is my left arm. If you start to take the club back with your front arm, you set in motion a chain of muscle firing sequence that prevents you from getting your elbow past this position without bending it. So bending the arm is the effect of initiating the takeaway with your left arm. You should not be trying to lift this back here, because it's one set of muscles to do this, and I'm lifting my elbow back. It's a completely different set of muscles to push my arm away. To push my arm away, I'm going to use a tricep. To lift my arm, I'm going to use my pectoral muscle and my bicep, and you'll feel both of these muscles firing when you take the club back. So that in itself is what stops most people's elbows from going any farther than this. If this is as far as you can go without bending your arms, you are taking the club back with your left arm, and that is a huge power leak, because it prevents you from actually getting the range of motion to be able to get your elbow and your hands above your head. So this is the first group of power leaks, and again, all these things affect your power, your accuracy, and your consistency. Now, some of you might be asking, well, how do I know if I'm doing this stuff or not? Well, you can only know this if you're seeing videotape of your golf swing, and eventually you're going to have to do this. Some people don't like to see their swings or afraid to see what, but you know what? If you can't see what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you can't change it to something else. So this program is worthless to you unless you're willing to videotape your swing. You don't have to go somewhere and have it done. If you've got a cell phone, you've probably got a video camera on it, and that should be good enough for you to see some of this stuff. So you want to start with that. Just make sure that in the frame of your video you can see your golf ball and you can see about this far above your head. Okay, so let's continue with our power leaks. Now, another biggie is not removing the slack between your shoulders and your hips. Some people call this the X factor or getting coiled. Basically, it's turning your shoulders back as far as you can without your hips turning. And when you do that, you feel this tension in your lower back. If you don't feel that tension at the top of your swing, you have not done this correctly. Lifting the front shoulder on the takeaway is a big deal. A lot of you start like this, but you bring this shoulder up like this. This prohibits you from getting your hands up high enough. You'll notice that my arm is under my chin. I can't get my hands up any higher. But if I drop my shoulder, my hands can go higher. Increasing the grip pressure on the way down. If you're one of these people that swings really hard at the golf ball, there's a very good chance that you are doing that. You may start off with a 5 or 6 pound grip pressure. You may have a nice slow takeaway, but if you jump in this too fast, you're going to change your grip pressure. You're going to change where the club head goes to when it gets back to the impact position. Okay, pull in with your front arm on the downswing. I've seen instructors tell people to do this. Pull with your left arm. That's a problem because that interferes with your last gear, and that's this thing down here. If I'm pulling with my front arm, I can't get this club to close. My left arm has to stop at some point in time, my right hand has to get underneath it. So I've seen golf instructors use this to cure people who are hooking the ball. One compensating move does not fix a cause fault. So we want to stay away from all the fixes that are compensating moves that are basically putting a band-aid on a big injury, and that's one of them. Okay, using both arms for power. A lot of people are swinging the golf club with their arms only. They don't use their shoulders, they don't use their hips. That makes your grip pressure get tighter. It changes your efficiency. You cannot hit the ball as far swinging like this as you can swinging with your lower body. It is not possible. When you increase the slack between your shoulders and your hips on the way down, let's say you've got a coil or you are loaded up when your hands are top of the swing and you feel that tension, but if on the way down you start moving your shoulders faster than your hips, you are losing your coil. You are creating slack and you don't have the power down here in the lower body that you can actually use. Another big power leak is not enough weight shift. Now I know a lot of golf instructors that don't believe in this. It doesn't make any difference. You're not going to see too many teenagers hitting the golf ball with their weight still in the middle of their stance. You might see some long drive guys do this, but these guys are not golfers. These are genetically gifted individuals that are getting a lot of electricity from their brains to their muscles. Most of those guys don't even play golf, so you can't use that as an excuse to not use your hips. And the last one in this segment is not enough hip rotation. Hip rotation going this way is one of your main 5 levers in your golf swing. So these guys are having a big impact on what you're able to do from here to here. The last group of power leaks, I'm going to start with the latissimus dorsi. It's this muscle back here. It's the largest muscle in your upper body. If you're not using that, if you're swinging with your arms and you're not using your lat, you're not getting as much power as you can. Your back shoulder comes down because your lat helps to pull it down. Incorrect muscle firing sequence. Now, that's a cause. One of the effects is coming over the top. We're going to do both of these at the same time. Correct muscle firing sequence, let me do it from this ankle, is making this weight shift. And you'll see my hands start moving down. They don't move towards the golf ball. Coming over the top means you rotate your shoulders immediately, your hands get out here, and you have to come across the ball. When you do that, it's almost certain that you're going to slice the ball. Casting with the hands, that's this move. It's like fishing. This is a 5th gear. If you're firing that first, that's a big power leak. Casting with your arms, that's pulling down with your arms and leaving your shoulders still. Same thing. That's got to be done, but you got to do it at the right time. Reverse pivot. The correct impact position is here with your belt buckle over here. Some people get over to here and then they come back this way, almost like a baseball swing. So that hurts you also. Your lack of flexibility is obviously an issue with power. And the last thing is swing thoughts. Now there's a lot of debate about whether you should have swing thoughts or not. Teenagers don't have swing thoughts. Most of them don't have the ability to have swing thoughts. Their brains are not in a position to take in a lot of cognitive information concerning your muscles. So when you see a kid swing a golf club, he's not thinking about it, he's just doing it. So these are the things that have big impacts on your golf swing. Now, very soon you're going to need to get video of your own golf swing. So go out and get that. You want to be able to see the golf ball, you want to be able to see this far over your head. Try to get it done with as high a speed camera as possible. 60 frames a second gives you a lot more information than 30 frames a second. So for tonight's reading, I want you to finish up reading Romancing the Brain, and I'll see you back here on day 8.